welcome. Today we will animate our character, or we will talk about the process of animating. In the last video we rigged, weight painted and set up IK bones for our main character, for our water park horror game. And so we have the rigged character and everything. And let's select. I would recommend saving the whole project as a new and separate project, as a kind of backup. That's exactly what I will do. Save as and main character and save. Okay, nice. So now we have a backup, and I would recommend to clean up here everything. I have one collection. You can create a new collection by pressing here, and I have the collection with the base stuff like the light and the camera, and here is still a reference image, and we can totally delete that. We will mainly focus on animating our character. So we cleaned up our project. Let's give it a save. Now we have just the character, and let's hide the camera and the light, and let's take a closer look at our character. Let's select the rig and pose mode. So I would recommend here under viewport, you have viewport here under object data properties and under object properties. And if you toggle in front, it will show you the rig in front of the character. So I would recommend you to do that for animation. And the second thing what I like to do, as you can see some bones, I mean we have here the yellow bones, which means they are dedicated IK bones. They are the first bones in a IK chain, which is here only 2 chain links long. So this one, and then it stops, and here it stops. And the other colors here I have one color for the head, one color for the arms, and one color for the feet. And to do that, to stay a bit more organized, object data properties under bone group plus, you add a new bone group, give it a name, whatever, and default color, and then just select the bone, for example this one, and assign. And that way you can organize your bones. Anyway, let's get rid of that stuff. And yeah, so that's for the basic around thing. At the end of your animation project process, we will, and you will hopefully, export the whole character with texture, with animations in a FBX file. It's very important to note, exportable and importable are only animations based on bones. Yeah, basically the first step for animating our character is we have to think about what animations we will actually need. There are some basic animations we will need for our game and for our project, and some advanced animations that are dedicated to specific items, specific events in game, and or specific mechanics. So, but the basic animations for this third person character and for first person, it would be basically the same. Like I said in the last video, I will animate the third person character, will fully animate him, and I will make and create the animations for the first person perspective afterwards. The basic animations will be, there's a specific basic animation list to actually start in your game engine with prototyping. We need an idle animation, a walk animation, a run animation, and a start jump, a fall animation, and a fall end animation. Those are basically the basics. And I mean, yeah, you can also create a take hit animation, like if the character gets damaged or something. But those are the basics. I will create those animations and the same animations for the first person setup. But additionally, I will also create swimming animations and a take item animation. So those are not necessary, but yeah, it's for my project important. So yeah, we talked about the animations we need. So think about what kind of movements will you need. I will go with you through the process of animating the first two base animations, the idle animation and the walk animation. So for animation, it's basically like that. We create key poses, so kind of like a beacon, a key pose, main poses, and between those key poses or main poses, we create the transition poses. We will smooth out the movement between those poses. That's basically animation. I recommend you to use the tap animation up here. So, and you can add windows to your viewport and take them away by just here hovering in the left corner, holding left click and dragging out. You create a new one, and here you can change in to a different viewport window situation. And by clicking again in a corner, in the left top corner, and dragging above it to the left, you get rid of it. And what I like to use is I use here a render preview, basically. Something like that, with a fixed camera angle. And I like to zoom in. And also I like to view and camera to view. That way I can move around the camera. So I can check in on the character from different perspectives, like that, and for example, more like this perspective. And sometimes something looks very weird in the animation cycle, but in the perspective from the player, like that, it doesn't look weird. So you can just leave it in if you're on a tight deadline, for example. You can always fix it later. So much to that. Here for the bottom part, I like to have here a timeline and a dope sheet. So let's drag that down. And like I said, you can add something if you drag it up, drag it down and stuff. So dope sheet, and I changed dope sheet to action editor. This allows us to create new animations and add them in an animation list. And each entry in this animation list will be an individual animation file, basically. So I will use a lot this gizmo up here. So I will change between those straight up perspectives. And for walking cycle, for example, I like to work from the side and then just fix some small things from the top. So, okay, so much talking. And yeah, let's animate something. We will start with the idle animation. The idle animation is a resting pose and basically a simple resting, breathing idle animation. So we have here the IK bones in the arms, in the head and in the feet. And we can leave that as it is. And we basically will create a resting pose, a ready but resting pose. And then in this pose, we will create a slight bend of the chest to implement breathing. And also the hips, we will bring down the body center a bit and bring it up. So let's do that. Let's, here in the Dope Sheet Action Editor, hit New, and let's call this Idle Animation, Idle. And here, that's so weird, I don't know why this is a thing, but you have to click this shield here, or if you're not, if you have an animation and you have not activated this thick user thing here, the animation won't be used, won't be saved with the next opening of the project file. So it's so dumb. But yeah, you have to toggle that, activate the shield, so that way everything in this timeline will be saved. Here is a duplicate animation button, or basically new animation, and by X you get rid of it and you can create a totally new animation. Duplicate, new animation, and yeah. So let's create a resting pose for our main character. Okay, let's, oh, by the way, we can use here the tools, the move tools, the rotation tools. For the IK bones, I like to use the move tool, but what we also can do is using the shortcuts. You can, let's use the, oh, here the head bone, for example. I'm here in local, not in global. I'm in local while animating, and I'm using individual origins. That's also a good to know thing. This individual, so local basically means the rotation and stuff is based on the local axis of the bone here, and if it's global, it's world based. But you probably already knew that. And individual origins allows us to do stuff like this. So we select here the finger bones, and let's get out the rotator tool, and let's rotate it inwards, and it will rotate every individual bone on this axis. Pretty nice. And if we want to get rid of that, mark the bones and hit Alt R to get rid of the rotation. It's Alt R is basically reset rotation, and Alt G is reset movement. So if we select the bone and hit G, we can drag it around, and Alt G, we reset that. And oh, scale. So let's scale, and Alt S is reset scale. So if you want to go back to your T pose, select it and basically hit Alt G, Alt R, Alt S, and you go back to your default T pose. Oh, also a little thing, we still have here the idle. It's good like that, but new action, call it T pose. This is a personal preference, but I like to have the default pose of the character saved up. So hit A to select every bone, right click, insert keyframe, location, rotation, scale. Now we have here a keyframe of all the bones. Okay, good. Now we can go back to the idle here in the browser tab thing here. Idle. Okay. Now let's start. Also important to note is always start on frame 0. Okay. This can mess up the flow of your animation if you start with 1. Always start the movement or animation on frame 0. So let's post this bad boy up. At first I want to bring down the arms, so symmetrize, G. Let's bring the arms down, bring them into a neutral position. And also here, the IK bones for the elbows. Let's bring them backwards, a bit backwards like that. Maybe let's bring up the arms a bit to give them a slight bend. Okay, nice. Let's rotate the arm a bit in, and let's bend the fingers. Okay. This looks like a pretty good base for idle animation, but it doesn't look ready. It's looking resting, but not ready. So to make something ready, bring 1 foot forward. So I take here the IK bone, I bring it a bit forward. Oh, and we have to untoggle the symmetry thing here up here. Bring the foot forward, bring the other foot back, and let's bring here on the pelvis, bring the whole body bit down. So global, bit down. Okay, nice. Now we have here the green line, which is the y-axis, and let's select here this bone, rotate to bring it on floor level, bring this a bit up. Okay, let's rotate it a bit forward. Nice. Looks way better. And things always will look a bit more interesting if you have some slight asymmetry going on. So, for example, that with the feet. And I will bring the IK bones for the knees a bit forward. And already looks like a running position. To zoom in on a section, you can select it and hit period on the numpad. Let's bring in this foot here a bit like that. Yeah, basically we are just trying to pose the character like that. And the knee, let's bring it a bit to the side. Nice. Okay, and let's bring one arm a bit more up. Okay, and if those bones are too much and too confusing to see through or stuff, you can just mark them, drag select over them, and hit H. That way you can hide bones. To bring them back, Alt H. So we have a resting pose, and let's bring the body bit forward like that. So that, let's readjust the arms. Okay, and it really doesn't matter how if you're using a IK setup or not, you can animate both ways. Just bring him into this in a resting position. What's very important to note is for animation, nobody told me that until I figured it out myself. Here this is basically the first bone in the bone chain for the whole character, this one here. If you animate the character and at some point you bring this, the first bone, the pelvis bone, you can only move him up and down and left and right and stuff, up and down, but never forward or backwards. For a walking cycle, for example, because you create additional movement forwards to the movement inside the game. So if you move your character forward, he will, on top of the movement through your controls, will move forward through the animation. So that looks kind of messed up. So never move the main bone here, whatever it is on your rig, the first bone that controls basically the center of the character, forward or backwards for a running animation or jumping animation. Only up and down and left and right. Never forward or backwards. I mean, it can maybe just try it, but if you think it would be a good idea, but I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, so pretty nice resting pose. If you ask me, I'm happy. Let's select all the bones. Right click, insert, keyframe, location, rotation. Nice. Okay, nice. Now we basically fixed the position, and let's do 50 frames. And middle mouse click to pan around inside this timeline here, and with the mouse wheel you can zoom in or out. If you don't have a mouse wheel, you have here this this thing down here. You can just left click, drag, and scale it in, scale it out and stuff. So frame 0 is the pose. And the last frame, let's drag select, right click, copy, and we're currently here on the last frame, and paste. Perfect. You see, it's a consistent position, rotation, scale all over the timeline. So to create our breathing motion, let's go in the middle, 25 for example. And let's take here the middle bone, for example, and let's just rotate him a bit inwards like that. And this bone here, let's bring that one a bit down, just a bit. Okay, and now basically we can select just those bones or all the bones with hitting A on the keyboard, or just select the individual bones. The thing is, with the point you move here this pointer, this green pointer thing to another frame, you get rid of all the movement and adjustment you just made and created. Okay, so I will show it. So you see here the character, and I move it one frame and all is gone. To get that back, basically you just have to Control C. So Control C, keep that in mind. I lost so much progress and I didn't press Control C. I just did it again. I'm so dumb. So select everything by hitting A or just the dedicated bones. Right click, insert keyframe, location, rotation, scale, or just location and rotation. Nice. So now let's give it a look. Here will always be displayed what's selected. If you select everything and you selected basically everything, and I like to work inside the summary here. And if I only select one bone, it shows only that bone. For example, we haven't moved this one here, so it's still consistent. Okay, so let's give it a look. As you can see, a pretty solid idle animation. Let's move the camera to the back. It's subtle, but it does the job. Pretty good. Perfect, you created your first animation. Congratulations. Let's create a new animation. If we change now to T-pose, as you can see, we change and switch between the current animations. And if we hit duplicate, we create an animation based on the current, based on the current animation. So now is the question: do we want to use the idle animation? Basically, the transition between the walking and the idle animation is a bit more organic if you use the idle animation as a base. But yeah, keep in mind to delete the other frames and stuff. So copy. Oh, you know what? Let's create it based on the T-pose. Yeah, now let's work with the T-pose. Switch to the T-pose, hit new action. Let's call it walk. And already smack that fake user thing. Give it a save. And now we have idle T-pose walk. And let's create a walk animation. A walk animation basically contains 5 key poses, and after we created the 5 key poses, we will smooth out the transitions. So let's do that. Let's create a perfectly fine walking cycle. Oh god. So let's create the first key pose. Oh, very important. For a walking animation, like I said before, if you hit something solid and you want to fixate a bone, you want to hit something like the floor with the feet, you use IK bones. Here, for the swinging of the arms, we actually don't need an IK setup. So let's get rid of the IK setup. We don't have to delete anything, just click on the IK main bone, the yellow one. Let's go in here, down here under bone constraint properties, and here under influence, turn it all the way down to 0 and create the keyframe by clicking on the little point here. Do the same thing for this one. Okay, nice. Now we got rid of the IK setup. And if we now we can use the rig like a normal rig without IK, as you can see. So A, Alt R to set it back. Okay, so we got rid of the influence of the IK setup. But the thing is, because we wanna use, we set it to 0, that also applied for the other animation, the idle animation, as you can see. So we have to bring back the influence here. So let's go to 0, influence 1, make a keyframe, select the other arm, influence 1, make a keyframe. Now it's back to normal. So basically we told the idle animation use the IK setup, and the walk animation we said no, we don't need the IK setup. Nice. So let's give it a save. I'm so paranoid. Yeah, basically for research, you can just Google walk cycle. You can look at I don't know, pretty girls on TikTok dancing or something as reference, or just try to walk yourself and think about how you move. Where is your feet first? Which feet? Where's your knee pointing at and stuff? And yeah, I would recommend you to work with off-screen references and try to emulate it in Blender without pulling in a reference sheet or something. That way you learn faster and get stronger. Okay, let's create the first key pose. This is actually a fast one, trust me. Let's take the IK knee bones for the feet, drag them to the front. Let's take here the head bone, bring it a bit down. It looks a bit more natural. It doesn't look that up. And let's bring the arms down. Oh, we can actually hide the IK bones down here, back here, because we got rid of it. So let's select them. H, perfect. To bring them back, Alt H, like I said. So I want to bring down both arms, symmetrize, front. We could hit R and rotate like that, but the rotation will be based on your view towards the bone, as you can see. And with the rotate tool, it will be based on what you have set up. So, okay, Alt R, just bring the arms down into a natural position, something like that. And let's curl in the fingers a bit, and because we set up and used individual origins, we can move all the fingers at once. Let's bring this finger a bit more in a resting position like that. Okay. Bring this one a bit up. Okay, for the key pose we need one. Oh, actually the first thing we have to do, so the knee IK bones are up front. We need to select the pelvis bone here and bring it a bit down to bend the knees. Bring it down. And now let's take the first foot and bring it without the symmetrization. Turn it off. Select the first foot and try to stretch it and touch with the heel the floor like that. Okay? And now let's try it and give the foot a slight bend. Like that. The other foot, the other way around. Like that. We're touching with the top, with the toes, the floor, and we still have a slight bend. Okay? So far so good. And if that foot is up front, the arm needs to be at the back. Let's do that. Very slightly behind the ass. Like that. Like he is ready to slap his own. Anyway, so let's rotate that arm a bit up front on height of the, you know what? Like that. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay. And now, here for the toes, let's rotate a bit to implement, shit, Oh, no, we can, let's rotate that one. Okay, nice. Like that. And I think it would look a bit more natural if he is bending a bit forward. So because he's moving forward, the body is also not straight up, but a bit forward bent. And in the running animation, this is even heavier. In the running animation, he would face like that, you know, Naruto running forward and shit. So slight bend. I like to use here the middle bone. Basically, if it looks like from the you know, the JoJo, the famous JoJo image, you have done something right. And one thing left, the feet are way too far apart. Need to bring especially the foot on the back a bit inwards. A bit like that. Okay. And have I forgot something? Oh yeah, the hips, the most important part of a man's body. If this foot is pointing forward, the hip is going down on the side of the front facing foot. So select, not the one in the middle, but those hip bones, give them a very slight move towards the front facing leg, like that. Okay. I mean, we can still do shit with the arms, but let's just leave it like that. Okay. Let's hit A to select everything, insert keyframe to save it. Location, rotation, scale. Perfect. We have the first key pose of our walking cycle. Let's create the last key pose of our walking cycle. So then there will be already 2 done of 5. So let's select it, drag select the first frame, right click, copy, and in the middle of your timeline, paste flipped. Nice. And now we have something like that. That's already pretty solid, if you ask me. And we have done basically nothing. And also with the bending of the foot and stuff, and like an idiot, I'm pointing at the screen of my PC, but you can't see that. Okay, so, but it's way too slow. We have to increase the speed of the walking animation. For that, I would go with 30 frames for now. Why not? Down here, start 1 and 30. And this one was the middle one. So we can drag select while having all the bones selected. Drag select. Drag it to the middle. Perfect. Let's scale it a bit up. Okay, yeah, that makes much more sense. You can also, based on the pointer here, for example, 0, drag select all the frames and hit S, and you can scale them up and down all the frames on the timeline if you want to increase or decrease the timing. Okay, so we created 2 key poses. First one, the last one. Now we have to create the passing of the feet. Here in the middle. This is a position in which the body is coming a bit up and straighten, and the front facing foot is switching basically the front position with the other foot and stuff. So okay, let's go to the middle between those two. It would be here 15. It's around 7. Let's take 6. That way we can better make out which one is front facing. It's this one. This is the back one. So first thing to do, let's select again this bone here. And let's bring it up until this leg is nearly straight, but again with a slight bend. Something like that. Okay. And this foot, bring it up. So the knee is slightly popping up front. The knee is telling the other foot, yo, I'm passing, I will. And as you can see, it looks pretty nice here in the preview. And now again, let's line it up with the floor. Okay, we have to bring this middle bone a bit down because we are not connected with the floor. Bit down, bit down, and again a bit down. Until we have the slight bend. Okay, nice. Now let's rotate it. And we can relax this one. Looks good to me. And we moved this one here. Straighten it slightly up. Very slightly. And let's hit A. Right click, insert keyframe. Rotation, location rotation. So we have now the first, the last key pose, and the passing, the middle one. So let's give it a look. Ooh, nice. Pretty solid, if you ask me. So the thing is, as you can see, it's slightly going into the floor. Basically, we have to fix those things with the last 2 keyframes here. And then we are basically done with the loop animation. So, the thing is here, the passing. The straightening of the foot forward should be a bit faster. So let's bring this middle one here to 8. So this one is slow and then it's faster. Yeah, nice. There's a lot of pacing and feeling and playing around. But basically, if you're lazy and have a tight deadline, you can just call it a day and say, yeah, done. And give it a save. So let's create the last 2 passing animations, key poses, which are here. After this one, the front foot is flattening down on the floor and sliding back. So we have to flatten out this foot on the floor. This is here the first in between those key poses. So let's zoom in a bit. Rotate it forward. Let's check it a bit on the front. Okay. Select all the bones, insert keyframe, location, rotation. Perfect. Let's give it a look. Foot is flattening down and sliding back. Okay, nice. And here the body is going up. So the body is just from this bone's perspective. Body is coming up because the foot is straightening, and then he's coming down again. Okay, let's create this, the last. If we are just focusing here on this foot, you can see that here on the end, wait, here, the last key pose, the foot is glitching into the floor a bit. Let's search for the position on which the foot is the most in the floor. I would say it's kind of here. You know, 11, yeah. Take the foot and bend it up like that. Let's just bring that one a bit down like that. Okay, nice. Give it an A to select all the bones. Right click, insert keyframe, location, rotation. We have all the 5 key poses. Let's give our animation a look. Nice. Smooth. Nice. Like it, love it. Check out the arms. Here with the material preview. Okay, we could still do things with the arms. The change of the hip, the swing of the hip is very slightly. If you have a female character, you should amplify the movement of the hip, because the hip bone on a female creature is a bit more pronounced, more big. That way there is way more swing, way more movement. And for a male body, there's a bit more movement in shoulder and arm section, and very slightly on the hips. So, pretty nice. So, okay, let's just leave it like that. And now it's not looping. As you can see here, the last frame and the first frame are not the same. To make it into a loop, drag select all your frames while having all the bones selected. A to select all the bones. Drag select, right click, copy. Let's click here on 18 or something. And right click, paste, flipped. Okay. Those are the same. What means we can delete one, or we can just drag select and drag it onto this position. Now let's give it a look. Hell yeah. That's a walking animation, am I right? Slightly robotic, very slightly, but not noticeable. Especially if you look here on the side from a distance. Nice. No, noise. Okay. So we can leave it like that. We could further out smooth out in betweens the key poses if we want, or we could change up stuff inside the. Wait, where is it? In the graph editor. The graph editor is basically for smoothing out movement, make it less robotic and stuff. But that's extremely advanced, I would say, for creating the first time animation and stuff. So that would be a whole nother topic. So very important. The last step before you call it a day, control if the last frame and 0 frame is the same. If you have a slight change, like if you see something wobble, those need to be the same, okay? So, and here you could smooth out stuff, but I think that's for another day. I still have to animate the monster, and there will be a lot of smooth animations needed. Will be needed. Oh God. So, noise. We animated our bad boy here. We have an idle animation, breathe, and we have a walk animation, walk. Okay. Now we wanna export the animations and the character mesh and texture and everything from Blender and make it import ready for our game engine. So let's give it a save the project. Oh, and now we can basically also add a lot of other animations, like I just showed you. But like I said, if there's a lot of requests, I will explain all the individual movement animation thingies that are out there. How dare you? So let's export him. Go back into the layout. Perfect. And make sure you turned on the shield thing here on all your needed animations. Okay. And I'm paranoid. Let's give it a save. So now make sure the character with the rig and the meshes and stuff are all in one collection and nothing else, okay? Let's right click, select objects. Now all the objects inside this collection are selected, which are the meshes, the textures, animations, and the rig. Now we can export it. File, export, FBX. This is basically the last step. Path mode. Wait, let's create a new folder. Tutorial. And let's call this bad boy main character tutorial. Path mode. Copy. And if you check that, it will copy all. It basically bakes the texture files into the FBX file. So very handy. Include, limit to selected objects. We're done with that. Transform, leave it as it is. Geometry, face if you want smoothing on your character, which I have enabled to get rid of the edginess. Or you can leave it and just leave it on normals only. Done with that. Armature, add leaf bones, untoggle that. Very important. We don't need leaf bones. Bake animation. This needs to be checked. Bake animation. Okay. That way the animations you have turned on the shield thing are baked into the FBX file. So currently, one more time, copy, toggle that, limited to selected, nothing there, faces for smoothing, armature, turn off add leaf bones, bake animation should be by default checked. Okay, good. Now export FBX. Nice. We learned a lot. We made a list about animations we need. we learned how to make an idle animation. We learned how to turn off IK bones. We created the perfect walking animation. We learned how to export the whole thing. And what's next? What's next? Next thing would be we create all the necessary animations, and then we import them into the game engine and start setting up our main character. And after that we can create an environment, we can create a test level, and oh god, so much to do, so many opportunities, and you are in the middle of it. So if you like this video, consider subscribing, leave a like. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you want to help the channel and the water park horror game in a big way, consider becoming a Patreon. Patreons get exclusive project files and assets from the game, get exclusive voting and polls, voting rights and polls for the game that will be included. Patreons get named, like here they get named in the video and named in the game, and I have a pillow with all the names on it. Yeah, if you made it that far, I love you. Have a great day, night. I don't know. It's so weird. Yeah. Anyway.